Hey folks, let's talk about something that's keeping a lot of world leaders up at night, a potential war between the United States and China. It's not just some far-off hypothetical anymore. It's starting to feel like a matter of when, not if. Both superpowers are ramping up their military might, eyeing each other suspiciously across the Pacific, and Taiwan is right in the middle of it all, like a powder keg waiting for a spark. Semiconductors are the high-stakes prize fueling this tension, and the cost could be nothing less than global stability crumbling apart. Sure, everyone publicly hopes for peace, but behind the scenes, every strategic move screams preparation for conflict. We're seeing shifts in demographics, economic slumps, stealth fighters zooming through the skies, relentless cyber attacks, and even nuclear saber rattling. This isn't your average rivalry, it's a ticking countdown to something massive. So, what exactly is making a U.S. China war seem inevitable? And what scary insights has China picked up from Russia's mess in Ukraine? Buckle up, because we're diving deep into this. Ever since Taiwan broke away from mainland China after World War II, Beijing has clung to the idea that the island is rightfully theirs, using historical claims to justify their sovereignty push. But during the Cold War, the U.S. threw a wrench in that by recognizing the Taipei government as the true China, which muddied the waters big time. Add in China's communist ties to the Soviet Union, which kept them focused on internal growth rather than invasion dreams, and you had a standoff that lasted decades. Beijing figured time was on their side, betting that economic ties would naturally draw Taiwan back into the fold without needing force. That patience stemmed from not wanting to poke the bear, meaning the US and its NATO allies, into a full-blown Indo-Pacific war. But lately, things have flipped dramatically. Taiwan's people have undergone this huge identity shift, making any peaceful reunion look like a pipe dream. Back in 1995, about 80% of folks there saw themselves as Chinese or both Chinese and Taiwanese, but by 2023, that dropped to just 28%, with 67% claiming purely Taiwanese identity. That's mirrored in politics too. Support for independence has skyrocketed. A 2025 poll showed 51.8% wanting full independence versus 24.2% for the status quo and a measly 13% for unification. Compare that to 1991, when only 1 in 8 backed breaking away completely. Beijing's watching this with serious alarm, convinced that Taiwan's drifting toward permanent separation and maybe even declaring independence outright. President Xi Jinping's tied Taiwan's reunification to his great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. By 2049, the centennial of the People's Republic and the split. Meanwhile, Taiwan's causing up more to the U.S.-led security network in Asia. Arms sales from America are bigger and better, military training's ramped up, and even Japan and South Korea are aligning their defenses with Taiwan's sovereignty concerns, worried about China's aggressive moves. This web of alliances makes absorbing Taiwan a bigger geopolitical headache for China every year. But the real game changer, Taiwan's economy isn't leaning on China like Beijing hoped. Instead, they've diversified trade and cut mainland dependence. Enter TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, which dominates the chip world, making over 60% of global semiconductors and 90% of the advanced ones. That's a quarter of Taiwan's GDP, giving them independent economic muscle that rivals China's own chip ambitions. As peaceful options fade, China's military prowess has exploded. The People's Liberation Army, or PLA, has gone from outdated to cutting edge, ready for multi-domain ops across air, sea, land, space, and cyber. From 2013 to 2023, they built more ships than most European navies have total. Now, the PLA Navy is the biggest by vessel count, with 234 warships, including 48 diesel subs, 12 nuclear ones, and 3 carriers heading to 4. The U.S. has 290 ships and 66 nuclear subs, but leads in carrier tech and experience. In the air, China's got J-20 stealth fighters, upgraded H-6N bombers with hypersonics, and tons of drones. Their air defenses, like Russian S-400s and homegrown HQ-9s, create no-fly zones that could hamstring U.S. ops. Scariest for Taiwan, China's missile arsenal. The world's largest, with 200 ballistic and cruise missiles aimed right at the island. DF-21s and DF-26 could hit U.S. bases like Guam, buying time by delaying intervention. In war, missiles would smash bases and comms first, while Navy blockades choke Taiwan's economy, prepping for invasion. This buildup's no fluke. Decades of investment, textiles, and Taiwan-focused planning. Exercises around the island are now invasion rehearsals. Impressively, China's done this with an economy 25% smaller than America's nominally, but their growth's been wild, doubling every 8 to 10 years since 1989 for 14-12% total. PPP-wise, they're already 27% ahead, but that boom's brought U.S. real estate. A third of GDP is crumbling with $500 billion in developer debt, defaults like Evergrande, and $4.1 trillion in unsold properties. Youth unemployment hit 21.3% before they stopped reporting, maybe 30% now, breeding unrest. Demographics are brutal. The working population peaked in 2014 thanks to the one-child policy relaxed too late. Fertility's below replacement. Population shrank in 2022 for the first time since 1958, letting India take the population crown. Productivity slowed to 0.7% annually from 2.8%, tying to GDP growth stabilizing at 5%, still good but vulnerable. The Belt and Roads flopped in places with cancellations over debt traps. These troubles push regimes toward nationalism. For Tsai, Taiwan's a distraction and fix. Critically, U.S. export controls on chips, joined by Japan and Netherlands, cut China off from advanced tech. TSMC's halted sales to Chinese firms, widening the gap. Chips are the new oil. TSMC makes 90% under 10M, vital for phones, AI, weapons. Losing Taiwan gives China control, a nightmare for the U.S. Geographically, Taiwan's in the first island chain, blocking China's ocean access. Taking it opens the Philippine Sea, threatening Japan and Philippines. China's Russia tie up echoes Ukraine, Taiwan parallels. Both Xi and Putin see these as lost territories to reclaim against humiliations. Ukraine shows determined defense works, sinking ships with missiles, inspiring Taiwan's porcupine strategy. But Western hesitation might encourage China, thinking a quick strike avoids drawn-out fights. China's aiding Russia evade sanctions, learning for themselves. A Taiwan war puts U.S. front and center. Unlike Ukraine, Biden pledged defense 4 times, ditching ambiguity, but Trump 2.0 is unpredictable, questioning aid and demanding payment. Domestic U.S. issues like polarization and global commitments add doubt. Tech wars escalate with rare earth restrictions. Beijing might see an opening amid U.S. chaos. Invasion timeline, 2027's hot per U.S. brass when PLA peaks and Tsai's legacy before 2028. Or sooner, before Taiwan arms up more, especially with Ukraine dragging. Scenario cyber first, then blockade to starve Taiwan, but that triggers U.S. so missiles hit bases, risking NATO Article 5. To delay, U.S. invests in deterrence like missiles and subs, keeps talks open. Taiwan goes asymmetric, stocks up. China reforms internally, accepts delay. But that's unlikely with nationalism. Washington's restraint looks weak, Taipei pushes independence, Beijing's cornered. Without change, war's coming, maybe 2020s. What do you think, war soon or delayed? Comment below. Thanks for watching.